The museum itself was startling. It was like nothing in Washington, D.C. I'd ever seen. I grew up in D.C. I was a tour guide there. I worked for the Smithsonian in one of my very first summer jobs. Everything in D.C. is the big buildings are, the monuments. They're huge and they're marble and they're white, and you walk up these ginormous steps to get there. And this building was kind of a bronzy color with a filigree design on the outside, and it's made in the shape of an African crown. I was like, what? My jaw dropped. When I saw next to the Washington Monument, right next to the Washington Monument, and on the other side is the American History Museum, the Smithsonian Museum of American History. And get this, it's 100,000 square feet bigger than the American History Museum. I was just walking around. You could have caught flies in my mouth the way my jaw was just hanging. And then you go in and you go down to you're supposed to start at the bottom, down in the dark basement of the building, which I did not like, but that's part of the experience. And you work your way up the different concourses until you get up to the light. But you asked me, what were the top three things that impressed me? I'm going to say, one, the building, the fact that it got built, that it was there, it's next to the Washington Monument, the American History Museum. I also I had some really crazy reactions. Some were really dumb, like I looked at the slave cabin. They have an actual slave cabin that they took apart from down in South Carolina and reconstructed inside the museum. I stood and looked at it, and it just hit me in a different level, and I thought of how cold those people must have been. There's no insulation. You could see through the slats. And I just pictured them being so cold with the wind blowing through it. It really brought tears to my eyes. And then there were other sections where I saw, like, how they used to have the sit-ins back in the 1950s for during the lunch counters at the Woolworth lunch counters, and they had some of the stools from the actual lunch counters at Greensboro, North Carolina, blue linoleum. It looked like an old cheesy stool, and people got their heads beaten in to sit on those stools and order a damn hamburger. Oh, gosh, it made me so mad. I started getting furious. And then, you go to other sections of the museum. Like I went up to the section that was dedicated to pop music and culture. Everywhere there was lights and color, and there's a big giant red Cadillac that one of the entertainers had owned. Costumes. I saw a costume from Soul Train. Remember Soul Train, the dance show on Saturdays? And I saw one of the dancers' costumes, and as I'm walking around, I'm getting totally on overload. Then I go to a section for the music group Parliament Funkadelic. Remember them? Parliament Funkadelic. I see a costume that was worn by George Clinton. And then I passed by this giant fake spaceship, and it's the mothership that George Clinton used to crawl out of during concerts. My jaw was hanging, and at this point I just start laughing. I said, all right, black folks, I've had enough. I'm out of this museum. I can't take another thing. Because you really are on an emotional roller coaster from the depths, the horrors of slavery, the Middle Passage, the awfulness that took place during the whole Reconstruction period, the Jim Crow segregation era, and then you're looking at music and pop culture, President Obama, and it's almost like, okay, it's almost too much for one day. It really is quite an experience. But you have to make sure you get your passes in advance. The passes are all free, but you've got to get them in advance. They do have some same day of passes, but those are given out on a first come, first served basis. If you've never been to the Smithsonian, make sure you go. Make sure you go.
Good morning. Thank you so much for sharing that wonderful experience, and congratulations on being able to have it. Hopefully, I will get up there one day. I like to travel, so that's one of my bucket list things, is to see the museum. Thank you for that detailed description. Excuse me, I'm just keep waking up. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Oh, my, I tell you, that description was just phenomenal, and thanks to whomever placed it there. It couldn't have been put in a better spot, and I just happened to stumble upon this, I guess, and it's been up a week. Wow. Should be nice to get some more people to say they like it. Thanks a bunch. Beautiful. What an experience. I've been there before. Plan to go back again next year to take the children.